You think you got it rough? Try going to Shinnecock Hills. They got some rough. Let's do this. Welcome to A New Breed of Golf. Michael Breed. So happy to be back in the studio, particularly on our U.S. Open special. Can't wait to get out to Shinnecock myself. And remind you that when the players go out there, they're going to be faced with two things. Those two things that are going to challenge them are going to be the wind, absolutely, and the rough. Rough is such a staple of a U.S. Open. This is something that you struggle with tonight. We're going to talk about how you can be more successful out of the rough. So what I've got is I've got a golf ball in the fairway here. I've also got this golf ball in the rough. And when we look at the ball in the rough, you can see that ball is sitting down a little bit. That's going to affect quite a bit what happens to this golf ball. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a standard by which my 6-iron is going to be flying. I've got the the target out there at about 180 yards. I'm going to hit a little 6-iron here and just look at some of these numbers and then show you how that rough is going to alter it. So I hit that 6-iron. I push that a little bit to the right there, but let's take a little peek at what are some of the things that we're going to see in this shot that we've hit. One of the things that we're going to see is the apex number. My apex is at about 100 feet there, sitting at 99. I round up. I've told you that before. So that's a big thing. The other thing we're looking at is the backspin number. That's at about 5,700. My total distance my carry distance was 177 yards. Total distance at about 180. So I've got about a 3-yard rollout on that, about 9 feet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this shot out of the rough here, and we're going to look at how those things are different. And when we get into this shot, because of the length of the grass, we're going to lose a little bit of an apex. We're going to lose a little bit in the spin rate, and we're going to gain some distance in where that ball, the difference between the total distance and the carry distance. So you can see I'm going to hit that shot. Now watch what happens to this ball. First of all, it's not going to carry very far. The second thing is this thing is going to roll and roll and roll and roll. Now, when we come over here, let's look at what we saw there. And again, pretty thick rough that we've got. The apex on that was only 42 feet. 42 feet. I lost more than half my apex. What does that do? That sends my carry distance down very low, and the difference between the carry distance, 131 yards, and 145 in the total distance, that's about 14 yards. That's a tremendous number. But look at what happened to my spin rate. My spin rate goes down to about 4,900 yards, 4,900 RPMs. We've got to get that a little bit different. I've got to get my apex up a little bit higher. I've got to figure out how to get this golf ball to be a little bit closer to what a total distance is going to be. And we're going to lose some of the distance that we're going to have in here. And I've got to make sure okay, perfect. So we're going to lose some distance anyway when we're coming out of the rough. But we want to be able to get that apex a little bit higher. I should be able to get it at least to 60 feet. I should get 60% roughly of what's going to happen when I come out of the rough. Now, how do I do that? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take that 6-iron and we're going to open it up. So I'm going to fan that open just like this. Then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to grip down on this club. I'm going to give this about 1.5 inches or 2. And the reason why I'm going to do that is I need to steepen my angle of approach. So one of the things that I'm going to do to steepen my angle of approach is I'm going to stand closer to the golf ball. I get in here like this. So normally I'd be back here. Now I'm going to stand in here like this. The second thing I need to do to steepen my angle of approach is I want to feel like I'm going to hinge my wrists a little bit more. So when I do that, now all of a sudden the club is going to be coming down more on an angle, and that's going to allow me to hit the ball more solidly, not have so much grass in between my club face and that golf ball. Then the other two things that I want to do to help me with that, one, I'm going to move that ball back in my stance a little bit, and I'm going to lean a little bit on my forward foot. So when we do all that, I should get a little bit more solid contact, get a little bit more distance. Let's see what we get. So you can see that shot's going to come out. Now that's going to go a little bit farther than that number that we originally had. Let's look at how these numbers change. This is a really good shot. This will tell you how solidly I hit this particular ball. And again, because I was able to get this club coming down on this, things changed. First, apex 63 feet. I told you I needed to get about 60% of it. Also, look at my carry distance. I flew that 158 yards. It rolled out to about 161. So I got that number back to where I wanted again. Again, because I had a steeper angle of approach, I had a little less grass between my club face and the ball, so I got a little bit more spin on it. And ultimately what happened was, in fact, I got more spin on it, and I got to 7,400, partially because I opened up that club face. So remember, there are things that you want to pay attention to when it comes to it when you get into the rough. One, I want you to get closer to that ball. I want to take that ball and move it back in the stance, and I want to set some weight on the forward leg. That right there is going to help me get a little bit steeper. I also want to make sure that I'm going to grip down on the club, and then I'm going to hinge my wrists back this way, which is also going to allow me to get steeper. You need to get steep on that shot in order for you to be successful when you're coming out of the rough. Thank you so much for watching A New Breed of Golf. I hope you enjoy the US Open. We'll see you next time.